Well, we're interrupting that edition of The Stream to bring you some breaking news. We're bringing you live footage now from the Green Zone in Baghdad, where we understand hundreds of mourners have entered the Green Zone and are attempting to storm the US Embassy in Baghdad. Now, this follows those deadly airstrikes on the Shia-armed group Hezbollah brigades, those airstrikes happening in the last 48 hours. At least 27 people were killed, and those funerals are taking place today. Now, Al Jazeera's Simona Fultine is in Baghdad. She's in the Green Zone where those protests are taking place. Simona, just bring us up to date. What's happening where you are?
Well, hundreds, perhaps even thousands of people have entered the Green Zone and are marching towards the embassy. I'm currently at the outer gate of the U.S. Embassy, which is located perhaps 300 or 400 meters away from the actual entrance. And this entire funeral procession, consisting mostly of PMS members and their followers, have basically entered through this gate without any resistance whatsoever by the Iraqi security forces that are supposed to guard the Green Zone, which means that basically the Iraqi government is supporting this march and possibly also the messages that they're trying to pass. They're chanting anti-American slogans. They're basically calling on the U.S. to withdraw from Iraq, and they say that they will achieve that through military or through political means. But for now, this entire procession has basically reached the U.S. Embassy. This is quite a significant development. We've seen in the past perhaps one occasion where anti-government protesters were able to enter the Green Zone, but I don't believe we have seen such a large number of people come this close to the U.S. Embassy. So it remains to be seen how the authorities will react, and more importantly, how the U.S. will react.
Seen the protests. We've watched the Iranian people demand that their leaders behave differently. You've seen the protests. Unfortunately, the Iranians responded by killing hundreds of their own citizens. But we've watched even in Beirut and in Iraq even today. We saw protesters today. They weren't covered in your footage. They weren't at the embassy, but we saw protesters, real protesters, not Iranian-backed militiamen who'd been directed to go to the embassy by Qasem Soleimani, but rather real protesters demanding to say that those folks at the embassy, those aren't Iraqis. Those aren't Iraqi people. They're not people who care about Iraq. We care about Iraq, and we want an Iraq that is free, independent, and sovereign. And the United States, under President Trump, will continue to work on that project.
Caretaker Prime Minister Abdel Abdul Mahdi has announced 3 days of public mourning. Thousands of angry protesters managed to reach the US diplomatic mission, which is located in Baghdad's heavily fortified Green Zone, chanting "Death to America" and burning US flags. The protesters further held up signs calling for the US mission to be shut down and for the parliament to order US forces to leave Iraq. Parliament should oust US troops or else we will, one poster read. Reuters cited two Iraqi foreign ministry sources as saying that the US ambassador and other staff were evacuated from the embassy out of security concerns as protests raged outside. Only a few embassy protection staff were left behind, according to the Reuters. American forces deployed inside the compound have fired tear gas, flashbangs and stun grenades to disperse the crowd. The protesters have breached the outer wall of the high-security compound that have sprayed the words, quote, "closed in the name of the people," end quote, on the gates of the American mission, throwing bricks and stones at the surveillance cameras around the building. Outside the mission, Iraqi security forces fired tear gas and stun grenades as they tried to prevent the protesters from making their way into the diplomatic compound. At least 12 people were wounded in the clashes. U.S. Defense Secretary Mark Esper said on Tuesday that the United States was sending additional forces to its embassy in Baghdad and called on the Iraqi government to help protect American personnel. So that's really all I'll write, but as usual, they're trying to blame everything that happens now on Iran. Reacting to the developments in Iraq, US President Donald Trump said in a tweet that Iran was to blame and would be held, quote, fully responsible, end quote. I mean, this is typical of the US when they're targeting a particular country for regime change, and basically to overthrow them. Anything that happens anywhere, they want to blame on that particular country, like they do it with China, they do it with Russia. Russia's been the big pariah of the US empire. They want to overthrow Russia. They want to destroy China, and they also want to destroy Iran and take over Iran. So they look for anything at all to justify what they want to do, basically. So you see all the Mike Pompeo and the usual suspects all sort of blaming Iran and threatening Iran once again. And it's interesting, I find, that this seems to always happen in the beginning of the new year. There always seems to be an escalation of, like they did in the beginning of 2017, there was this escalation on the DPRK by Trump, and then it always they seem to use the beginning of the new year to kind of really escalate their aggression towards the target country that they want to overthrow for resources and for their hegemony in the region. So this is once again it's an interesting thing that I've noticed. This always seems to happen in the beginning of the new year. What a lovely way to start the new year. So anyway, I want to wish all anybody who watches this channel, people who leave comments, and anybody who happens to be passing by, I want to wish you all a very happy 2020. Let's actually hope that people get 2020 vision about what's happening, what the US empire really represents, and start pushing against US imperialism, and also get 2020 vision with what we're doing to non-human animals on this planet, and become vegan. If we really want peace on Earth, we have to start with ourselves, and that means we have to be anti-war, anti-imperialist, and we have to be vegan. If we can't say we're truly for peace and justice, if we're continuing to oppress and persecute and exploit and use as property non-human animals, the largest part of the planet, that the most invisible in many ways, the most oppressed. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope you'll continue to watch Faint Signals from Vega. I'm probably going to do a New Year's video to talk about my thoughts for the coming year, and so I hope you'll join me in that, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the notifications bell, otherwise you won't receive notifications when I drop a video. Thanks for watching. Till next time. Bye for now.